idea about global business. And I changed my direction from business development and IT, and I changed it over to private space sector, or to those private space sectors that could be used in space, off-world or on-world, on planet. And so now I am a consultant working in the field of using technology to bridge technology gaps, such as right now additive manufacturing, which will be discussed later, or also called 3D printing. So my background is in interacting with people, linking people together, linking organization together, building relationships, building sustainable relationships. I do have IT background, but most of it is in working with certain key players and being a change agent and having meeting the necessary objectives. So yep, I think that's it. We'll talk more about it later, but I'll pass the mic back to you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael. Over to you, Sachika.
Okay, we'll be moving to question answers and round. Before moving to question answer round, I would just like to say the audience, if you have any questions, you can text us. We'll address you later randomly, in random order. Okay. So my first question is to Adriano. How was your journey in SRI since 2008?
We can hear you.
Okay, so you're asking me about my journey with the space renaissance. Okay, so well, I was one of the founders of the 5 founders of Space Renaissance in the 2008. We held a convention in Belgirate on the Lago Maggiore in Italy. And the title was Colonizing the Moon and the Near-Earth Asteroids for a New Renaissance. So we started to discuss about this concept of Renaissance and about the historical Renaissance in the 1500th century, when the Medici family sponsored and supported the development of the Renaissance, of the culture and of the art, coming outside from the Middle Age. Okay, so this is our historical reference was to the Renaissance, the classic Renaissance, and we were considering that something similar would be needed today, in order that the many wealthy families that exist in the world could finance, support and sponsor a new Renaissance that can only be in space, because almost 8 billion people living nowadays on Earth, on our planet, cannot making with the resources of this only planet. So the only Renaissance nowadays can be in space. And our task as an association, as a cultural, philosophical association, was to support and facilitate the expansion of humanity and most of all of our civilization into space, in order we can profit of the enormous resources of the solar system, the enormous resources of the moon, of the asteroids belt, of Mars, and of the external planets, in order to continue our civilization to grow up numerically and culturally and in technology, in ethics, in morality, and all the vectors that are proper to the human history, the evolutionary history of humanity. So this This was the foundation of the space renaissance. It was founded as a philosophical association. The goal of it was to refound the general philosophy, supporting a change, complete change of paradigm from the closed world to open world, to an open world concept, open to the outer space, of course. So since then, we held two world congresses, one in 2000, the first one in 2011, and the second one in 2016. During the first Congress, we identified space tourism as the key sector that could, by itself, open the frontier, because we thought that space tourism was the market segment that could grow on itself, selling tickets to suborbital trips and later to orbital level and to the moon and so on, and selling the tickets for this kind of travels to continuously improve the technologies to make humanity start living and working in space. This analysis made in 2011 was correct, but it was not realized so far. And in 2016, we have to correct a bit our vision, because we understood that space tourism alone could not make in this effort, in this challenge, even because of some, let's say, political considerations, because normally people think that space tourism is something like a toy for rich people and not as a tool for human evolution. First of all. Second, there were a lot of obstacles and lobbies that were opposite to space tourism, because they don't want that commercial initiative get into space. So space tourism had a lot of enemies, let's say, like that. And of course, we continue to support space tourism, but we had to also understand that other factors were coming in the progress of the space enterprise, human space enterprise. First of all, in 2016, we saw the first success of the reusable space rockets, the reusable rockets made by SpaceX of Elon Musk. So this was a different thing. It's not quite space tourism, it's something else, because Elon Musk is working with NASA, and thanks to NASA contracts, he can develop these disruptive technologies. And we understood that maybe the opening of the space frontier was not passing only on space tourism, but also on other kind of agendas and roads. But that is good. Of course, reusable rockets is a very, very big milestone in the opening of the frontier. So in 2016, we start to think about the enabling technologies, and we are coming to today, our focus and biggest effort of today, because we understood that we will not have a real change of paradigm from space exploration to space settlement if we will not develop the technologies that enable civilian people, so not only astronauts, but normal people, to travel, work, and live in space. So this is a scientific and technological problem, because we have to improve our technologies to protect against cosmic radiations. Because if we want to live more than 6 months in space, we need to be protected. Otherwise, our physiology will be damaged. We have to develop artificial gravity, because the second big problem is zero gravity will damage our physiology as well. And third, but not least, to develop green environments in the space habitats, because we cannot live for years in iron boxes. We have to bring with us in space the environment that we are used to have on Earth. We have to breathe fresh air. We have to see green vegetables and trees and flowers around us. We have to have animals too with us. So we have to start to think in another order in another philosophy, in another vision of our world that must be considered as a greater world. So since 2016 to nowadays, we strive to develop strategy to help us to influence a very, very larger audience in the world, to be able to talk to many, many people in the world, to make them understand that space is necessary. And I think COVID-19 demonstrate, if we needed it, COVID-19 demonstrates this reality that we must go out in order to find space, in order to find resources, in order to find energy, in order to find an environment where we can develop again. We are not constrained inside the limits of our mother planet. So this is more or less the trip from the beginning of Space and Essence to today, and maybe later we will see what we are doing and what we are trying to improve and to enlarge this organization, to make it grow up and so on. Okay. Is that enough for us for now? By now?
Yes, Sachika, your mic is off.
I'm really sorry. I was asking, what are the main goals of SRI in today's time? Objectives of SRI?
Yes. So, okay, the main goals, okay, is what I told before, more or less. So to boost, to give an higher priority to enabling technologies to assure civilian space development. So our goal is to kick off the civilian space development. We think that if this will not be started before 2025, civilization is highly at risk. So risk of implosion, because of the many threats that are surrounding us, both endogenous threats and exogenous threats. Because in these days we see, for example, that many asteroids are coming near us, and we perfectly know that in the past some asteroid impacted on Earth, causing big extinctions. So this is a kind of threat that we can mitigate, is a risk that we can mitigate only becoming a really spacefaring civilization, by living in the space, in the so-called greater Earth space, and to be able to capture incoming asteroids and converting them to useful assets, because asteroids can be used as materials, and not only. We can also bring them in the Lagrange points between Earth and the Moon, and dig inside and use them as an environment where to build a city inside, just to say one thing, that will be protected from cosmic radiation and will be also have artificial gravity by rotation. Therefore, we will get all the goals to allow us to live in space. So our goal, our main goal, is to start civilian space development before 2025. To reach this goal, we decided some strategical project like the Space Renaissance Academy in first time, and the Civilian Space Protocol. That's another initiative that we are carrying along, and most of all, we need members. So we halved our yearly fee. It's now only 24 euros and 12 euros for students and unwaged. So I think it should be affordable for more or less all the countries in the world. And we need people, absolutely, we need at least 1,000 members within this year. So I make a warm call to all of us to take this challenge as our own challenge, and to register and to invite other people to do it. So let me say, resuming, three main goals: to start the civilian space development, to using the civilian space protocol to involve governments, at least 200 governments in the world that are the governments of the countries who subscribe to the United Nations, to adopt this agenda to develop the enabling technologies for civilian space development, and our membership campaign. So these are the main things we want to do. And the Space Renaissance Academy, of course, is one of the strategical assets that we have in place. So, but about the academy, Michael will talk also. Therefore, maybe I can add a few things, but he is the chair, and I let the word to him.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, Michael, we would like to know why you joined SRI and how is your experience working with the team?
Okay, I've always been a space enthusiast since I was a child. I've written to all the major NASA bases, all the sites when I was a kid, and I received all their collateral pieces. So something I've always liked. I spent some time in the United States Air Force, hoping that I could be a pilot, but that didn't work out. And so over the course of time, I realized over the course of time that there's other things I could do in space, such as business related. And when I transitioned away from the IT sector, from the hospitality industry, or from the global business sector, I realized that I could get involved with space, private space sector. And I heard about a university, an organization called ISU, International Space University, and I attended summer program.
Could you switch on, Mike? Can you switch on your camera so we can see you while you speak?
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. I'm actually sitting on the ground because I'm on a picnic chair. So let's see. I think I started off with I decided to attend an organization called International Space University, ISU. And ISU was great because it gave me the insight that I needed to understand the whole space sector, especially from a business perspective and engineering perspective. So I attended ISU, or shall I say Space Studies Program 2017 in Cork, Ireland. And while I was there, I met a lot of like-minded individuals. And then from there, I got more kind of involved a little bit with going to other space type of events. And I went to Adriano, I think it was called, what was that United Nations event that you and I met at in Vienna, 2018? But it was a UN event that I met Adriano in. And then he and I started talking. I had a desire to get a PhD in space studies from a business perspective, but that kind of changed a little bit. And so he told me about SR.
It was Unispace plus 50.
Yes, Unispace 50. That was it. And that took place in Austria. Yeah, Austria. I want to say spring 2018. And it was a great opportunity because I met a lot of people throughout the industry globally. And that's where I met SRI. That's where I met Andreas. And I met some other people as well from SRI and other organizations. So it just kind of mushroomed into that. And then they say, hey, Michael, you want to be involved with the academy? I'm like, I'm more of a business guy. I don't like theoretical things. I like actual, and you'll hear that as I'm speaking because I'm very, I don't really understand education if it doesn't give you understanding. And so I came on board with the SRI Academy to say, how can I assist? How can I be of service? How can I help learn and also lead by example? Because it's not just knowledge, it's understanding how to implement and how to execute. Knowledge without understanding is useless, it's dangerous. And so one of the driving factors for me in being involved with the Academy is that I wanted to understand more about how I can be assisted in the community, not just have internship programs or not just have certain things that would give more degrees, but how can we make a meaningful impact? And lastly, if I can close on this bit, I'm even much more passionate now with the current global civil unrest that's going on the planet. I'm much more passionate about what's going on in regards to the changes of the guards in the governmental structure, the massive dive down of the global economic climate that we all are in, regardless of the planet, and obviously the global pandemic, which on top of that there's also natural phenomena. But that's driving me to really stay focused and not divide my attention and get off on all these other tangents. So that's what's keeping me there. Oh, and I wanted to say this: the industry is changing quickly, and organizations are going out of business. They're going bankrupt. They're being bought out, and that's changing things rapidly. So it's important for us to understand this and then implement the necessary changes, or be ready to move on a dime. But we got to stay focused, and that's what I would like to do: get together a team where we can stay focused. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So as Adriano already explained, I want to know your thoughts, Michael, that what is the need for space explorations?
I have a hard time with the word exploration. And that may be because of I'm from the US and because of just I've seen the term exploration really means conquer. And I know that's a touchy word. I do know that the Japanese the equivalent of Japanese NASA is called research. And I like research better because what we've seen in the history of on this planet, exploration is a code word for divide and conquer, and to capture people and capture ideas and to wealth oneself. So I believe what I forgot his name. I think his name is Data. He was a space. He is a space futurist. He used to teach at the University of Hawaii. He's a leading in his field. His name escapes me. I want to say Data. I didn't remember his name. If someone knows his name, please put me on the chat. If Ali, if you remember his name, Ali, if you're there, Ali, please. But he always said, there's no need for us to terraform Mars. We should terraform our own minds. Because the way there are characters are on this planet, in our countries, in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, the way that our culture is now, we're not going to magically change when we go to the stars, when we think that and this is just my thoughts, and that's how I'm looking at this. So exploration is not the solution. I think the solution is that we need to understand that we can't duplicate what we're doing on this planet, because we will duplicate the same thing. We will duplicate it. And so again, I believe that we need to leave the planet, but not with the same mindset, because we don't want to go to another. We don't want to explore and then disrupt whatever's there, because if we look at history, one person's rebirth is another person's demise. And so it needs to be something where we're not, we need to be mindful that there could be, and I'm just saying this, we need to be mindful that when we explore, there could be other trade agreements already in place. There could be other things, there could be other protocols in place. So those are things we need to consider. And so I like to discuss it more. I have some things I've written out to discuss some things at the academy, some potential down the road, not the moment, potential things that we could do at the academy to look at, so that we're not as evasive. Because I'm an enthusiast of hiking. I love hiking. And whenever I'm going hiking in any woods, be it in Germany, be it in California, or be it when I was hiking, or when I was hiking over in Vietnam last summer, they all say, take a photo and leave your footprint, but don't do anything else, because they want to preserve the integrity of the ecosystem there. They don't want you to take flowers. They don't want you to do things that will disrupt the ecological balance of that environment, because it's already been destroyed throughout the planet. So exploration is not the key. I think the key is for us at the academy, what I would like to do with the team is to really uncover why are we doing this, and have classes and have courses on how we can better prepare our minds. Because right now, exploration just means conquering. And that's what I look through history. And some of us are products of exploration. We all speak English because people were exploring, just to be fair. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I think we all need to know the difference between love and liking, and we should love the nature, not like the nature. So over to you, Sachika.
Okay. Last month, NASA and SpaceX together launched Dragon Crew. It was a successful mission. We all know that. So after that collaboration, like many other companies like Blue Origin are coming into the space. So what do you think that privatization of space, like what do you think about that?
So what do you think about the privatization of space?
Like more private companies coming into space.
I'd like to answer that. And Adriano, you could please chime in as well. Okay, I'm speaking about private space businesses, small businesses or medium-sized businesses, not the big ones. At this moment, there is a crisis. They call it a liquidity crisis. There is a credit crisis where most organizations are heavily in debt, and so what's happening is that the smaller guys, the medium-sized organizations, are being squeezed out. For example, I just read just the other day that Bigelow is, I guess, a biggish player, and they're going through, because of COVID-19, because of the global pandemic, they had to do some massive layoffs. So right now, the way the current monetary system is structured is very debt-based, debt-centric base, and it's not very sustainable. That's what I'm trying to say. And when you look at some of these comic books or some of these Hollywood movies that you will see, one that comes to mind, and I hope I'm answering your question, is Alien. The first Alien, if you think about the movie Alien with Sigourney Weaver, with the monster, if you look at the backstop of that was a corporation who was in space. That corporation was in space doing some mining. And the corporation, the bottom line of every corporation is to maximize profits and minimize losses. And so they took upon a deadly pathogen and brought her on board, because they're thinking that they can use this to make profit off of it. Profit is wonderful. I think profit is wonderful. I like profit, but there's a balance between profit and then danger. So right now, a lot of businesses are struggling. A lot of the medium-sized businesses are struggling, and And I think we need to find another solution. So I don't see small businesses really doing well right now because of the economic impact that's happening within North America, particularly, which is one of the leading fields of private space travel, uh, be, because it's more of a billionaires' boys club. But that's my view on how I read it. It would be great if there was more small, medium-sized businesses, but they're being squeezed out because it appears to be that everything's coming down to having a few big players, an oligopoly, similar to what we have in the energy sector. Okay, I'll move over to you, Adriano.
Yes. Sorry, can you hear me? Okay, I'm not muted. So I think a first consideration should be done between the concept of exploration and the concept of settlement, because I said before, one of our goals is to determine a change of paradigm from space exploration to space settlement. So I'm not saying we don't need exploration anymore. We will always need exploration, of course, in the good meaning of the term, not in the term of conquistadores, you know, because even because nowadays there are not other inhabitants in the solar system. Therefore, I think the context is quite different from the the old exploration, the old history of exploration in our history. However, let's consider that we are making space exploration since 60 years more or less, and we didn't expand of 1 only meter outside Earth, because we have a space station, the only thing we have, but it is a research laboratory, is not a place to for industry, for civilian development, and etc., etc. So the problem is to shift from a philosophy of a strategy of exploration alone to a strategy of settlement and exploration. Our analysis says that likely there will be any more money, financial resources to make even exploration, to neither make exploration in 10 years if we will not have started a real space economy. So if we will not start really the expansion, the civilian expansion, we will not have any more financial resources to even to continue the exploration. So this is a first consideration. So the settlement, space settlement, is necessary also in order to be able to continue space exploration, let alone all the other economic activities on Earth. Space expansion is necessary to continue our industrial society, because otherwise things like these pandemics will completely jeopardize and destroy our earthly economy. But Michael is posing another question. So if we have to go outside and settle and no more making exploration like in the past, what should we do in order to not completely change the environments we will encounter on our road? Well, what I can say is that the asteroids is a very, very huge repository of materials that can be seen differently from the planets like Mars or even the moon in itself, that can be seen as some kind of environment that we don't want to completely change, even if going there it will be I think unavoidable to make some human environment, the environment suitable to sustain human life on that. But what we say is that we can go to the moon surface and to the Mars surface in order to make research, even to make industrial activities such as mining, because the moon, for instance, is rich of helium-3 and other components that are essential for energy producing and many other things. But for living, it would be very much better to build O'Neill style colonies. Gerard O'Neill in the 70s was the main researcher on this side to build big towns rotating in space, and so endowed with artificial gravity. And these things can be constructed using asteroidal materials and moon raw materials. So we will, in a certain way, preserve the moon environment, and the moon environment will not, and the Mars environment will not be completely terraformed, but we can live in orbital cities. And it will be very much better, even for our physiology, because to live on the moon at 1/6 gravity, or on Mars with 1/3 gravity, would mean that in few generations, but even before than few generation, even just staying 2 or 3 years at that lower gravity would make us unable to come back to Earth, if not on a wheelchair. So, because our physiology will change too quickly. So there is not only a care for the environment that suggests us not to settle on planetary surface, but to build something else in orbit. It is also for our human interest that it would be better to to follow O'Neill more than other theorians that imagine Moon City or other kind of settlements. So yeah, from exploration to settlement is one thing, and how and where to settle is another important issue that we have to discuss with our academy and to develop the best strategy for well, I don't want to say colonizing, because colonizing is another word like exploration that Michael mentioned before, that make us remember bad things of the past. So how we need to settle in space, but we have to understand how and where and with which technologies, which means, etc.
Okay, so I have a question for both of you. First, I want to ask Michael, will commercialization of space won't lead to exploitation of space like Earth?
I think I saw that written somewhere. Please repeat that. I want to. I'm not. I want to. Would you repeat that once again, please?
Will commercialization of space won't lead to exploitation of space like Earth?
Yeah, yeah. Commercialization. Again, the culture. Again, it's important to understand. And I'm answering your question, but I'm just saying it this way. Gaining understanding is really important to understand a culture, because culture is what drives everything, regardless of what the strategy is. The strategy is to be green. If the strategy is to do something XYZ, it doesn't matter if the culture it's about profit over people. And again, if someone wants profit over people, they should have at it. That's fine. But the way the system's set up now, the culture of the system globally, not just one part of the planet, globally, it's designed for profit above all. In 1971, there was a Nobel Peace Prize that was given to, his name is escaping at the moment, but he's from the Chicago Business School. And the Nobel Peace Prize that was given to him, I want to say Freeman. I think it was Freeman, but 1971 Nobel Peace Prize for business was that the company's responsibility is not to the society, but to bring a return for the shareholders or the stakeholders of that organization, and not to the community. And he won a Nobel Peace Prize back in 1971. And so within 10 years, you saw that attitude kick in regards to how Wall Street and all the other stock markets around the planet took off. If that's what people want to do, they should do that. But the way the current culture is right now, it is profit over people, profit over patience, profit over above anything. And so you want to maximize your profits and minimize your loss. And the way you minimize your loss is that you socialize your costs and you privatize the profits. And that's the culture we live in right now. So I think commercialization is fine, but not under the current culture that we have right now. That's destructive from what I'm seeing. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. Adriano, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think commercialization of space is key to the opening of the space frontier. We will never open the frontier if we let only the military and the governments and the military to hold the domain of space, of the orbits and so on. So the commercialization of space is really necessary if we want to expand, to try to begin expanding civilization. When we talk about exporting our bad social uses that we have on Earth to space, we have to try to see this problem in a different way. I mean, we are used on Earth, being 8 billion, sharing this small planet, to think in terms of scarce resources. So we are used to think in terms of very limited raw materials, energy, money, etc., etc. But we have to think that the real richness is not money, it is the know-how and the ability to work. So the know-how and the people is real richness. So if and when we will be working in a different context, in a context of abundant resources, and the solar system is definitely a place where there is a very, very big amount of resources that will be enough for trillions of people to develop in the next centuries and millennia, our social understanding will not be the same anymore. Because if we think that there is enough for everybody, I could say that the natural human greedy and avidity will percentually decrease among the population, among the growing population, and our social behaviors will be improved just by the fact that we will have abundant resources, so we will not be anymore forced to fight each other and to exploit each other and so on. So you may think that this is a kind of utopian view, but I can say that we definitely need new utopias, because until when we will be only thinking in terms of the growth and renouncing to our style of living because of the environment, because of climate change, because of the pandemics, etc., we will never start growing up as a civilization. Therefore, the space renaissance intuition, if you want, our vision, is that acceding to a big abundance of resources, we will not be the same anymore, and our humanity will improve, and we will become more humans. from the point of view of ethics, morality, respect for the other, for our brothers and sisters, and respect for the nature. And we should not forget that the nature is not only the nature of this planet. The whole solar system is nature. The whole galaxy is nature. The universe is nature. So we are immersed in a cosmic ecology. And the problem is, and here, okay, I am deviating a little bit from your question because your question was on economics. I'm going to the, I'm making a small deviation into the philosophical domain. Okay, I will let it for another question. It is better. So let's stay on the economic side of the problem. So I think that, however, to open the space to the private companies and to the commercial initiatives is definitely a good thing. Of course, we should be, we should also try to learn the lessons of the past and try not to go there to be sharks, you know. But I mean that in a very big ocean, there will be a place also for sharks. In terms of greedy entrepreneurs that want to take many resources. Okay, take many. There are other. There is plenty for everybody. So we are not anymore constrained to fight, no, to have a fight among different classes, because well, on Earth we have or the masters or the workers, okay? Because in some way there is not enough resources for everybody, but in space there will be. So we can have even different social models in the diaspora when we will start really expanding in the solar system. There, different communities will be founded, and they can experiment different social models. They can experiment. Let's say socialist models or liberalist models or something else that we cannot even imagine right now. But if we think about a big space to expand, we can think about cultural differentiation. And you know that evolution works with differentiation, not with homologation, not with one only thought is to be adopted by everybody, otherwise we will not be. No. Different models can be developed in space when we will have enough space and resources around. So I maintain that our priority is to open the frontier. And yes, we also we cannot avoid to be concerned about our behaviors, our social behaviors, etc. Yes, but however, our priority is to open and start to go outside. Otherwise, the civilization is at risk. We risk very much more staying closed in this closed planet than to open it. Even if something evil can come out without with us. Okay, this is my thought. I don't know. Maybe I went outside your question in some way.
Okay, it was very nice having you guys.
Thanks so much, sir, for this.
Yeah. Continue, Bharti.
Over to you, Sachika.
We have some questions from the audience. I am seeing.
Okay, I took note of the questions from the audience. So Ria Kalra asked, if we want to make humans as an interplanetary species, what will be the psychological effect on human mind? Are we prepared for this? So this is one question. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce correctly your names. However, Shreyas Kumar asked, who knows the space and what are the space laws? Okay, this is also an important point. And Arashita asked, what do you mean by astronautic humanism and why it is necessary? Okay, I think I already replied in some ways to this question. And Anand Ranyan say how students coming from a background of arts, law, and business can be a part of space science. Okay, these are all very, very good questions. So I'm afraid that I'm not qualified to reply to the first question about psychology. I just can say that very short thing that as I said before, when I talk about the O'Neill model that is preferable with respect to the planetary settlement model, I think that if we try to keep our physiology not too much changed in the first centuries at least, even our psychological issues will be smaller, because let's think what it will be if we will see ourselves to change, our body to change quickly, and the body of our children most of all. Because let's think about a lunar baby or a Martian baby. I don't know. They will be maybe 3 meters tall and very thin, and they will be more fragile than we are with their bones, and so this will be really disruptive for our mind, I think. So it will be very much important to try to well, my concern is, let's think to humans, because when we design any system, be it of life sustain to sustain life, or any other thing, we always have to start from the requirements, from the human requirements, from the stakeholder analysis and all these kind of things. Then, of course, one of the main stakeholder requirements of any space installation would be to preserve human health, and the psychological health is one of the key points in our design. For psychological health, the green environment is very important. So we have definitely to make gardens. We have to make gardens in space, definitely. In the moon too, why not? In closed environment, maybe underground on the moon. In lava tubes, we can make habitats. We have to make gardens using solar energy to make them gorgeous, to make it nice. So take care of the human psychology is, of course, one of the first points. I am not able to discuss this point from an academic point of view in the psychological science, but I think we can discuss it from a humanist point of view, a philosophical point of view. That's maybe even more important in a first stage, because scientists will come when we will have written some good requirements for their analysis, discussion, and design. So, okay. Then, okay, space laws. I'm sorry, I'm just me is answering, but however, I will say a small thing about space laws, because I also deepened a little bit this aspect, because in 2017 was the 50th anniversary of the Outer Space Treaty. That is a treaty that was signed by United States, UK, and USSR in 1967, and it was ratified by 117, if I am not wrong, countries in the world. So this treaty only include rules about states' activity in space. And of course, it didn't consider space tourism, commercial activities, etc. So the discussion we had in 2018 in Italy, in our second National Congress in Italy, one of the sessions was on space law, and we understood that it is time to refresh that treaty, including some rules, for instance, from the international seas law. Just to say one thing, if we want to recover a space recon, a space debris, a big space debris, a satellite, no, out of activity, out of operation satellite, we cannot do it because we are not the owners of that satellite. So if we try to recover an old wreckage that can be dangerous for space navigation, we cannot do it. So at least we have to introduce the law, the rule, one of the rules from the international seas that says that if you recover a wreckage, the property of that record, of that thing is yours. You can do what you want. So this is one thing. Another thing is the obligation to give soccorso, to give help to any people in danger in space. So the law, international law of the sea, obliges any ship to give help to people in danger of life in the middle of the sea. And of course, also the problem of who can use the space resources is another big thing, because that treaty say that space is for all and not for single proprietaries. Therefore, the new space law should at least say something about asteroids. I don't want to say about the moon and Mars. Maybe that is more complex to be ruled. But for the asteroids are like raw materials agglomerates in space. Therefore, they can be used. I think it's not a planetary, it's not a celestial body. An asteroid is something else. Okay. So there are many things to be done on space law, for sure. Okay. About astronautic humanism, I already said, I think, in all of my answers before, but I can say more if somebody still want to know. And about students coming from arts, law, and business be part of space science. Well, the Space Renaissance Academy definitely wants not only scientific know-how to come in, but also from the humanistic side. So philosophy, psychology, sociology, all this kind of science, human sciences, should be part of the discussion, for sure, because they are very important in order to define the requirements for the space settlement that I was talking before. And therefore, science is useful, but philosophy too. And art even more, because art is another language, is an emotional language that we can use to get people to understand what we say. Sometimes it is not easy to explain it with words. Sometimes we need something else. We need music. We need poetry. We need inspired speakers to talk. So this is where arts come in. And of course, we also have a very learned lesson that artists should be free. Therefore, we will never try to say to artists, oh, please make a song that say this, this, and this. No, that's not the way. We can only look around and see, oh, look at that song. David Bowie was a great author and wrote wonderful space songs. So this is the case. Artists think with their head. They don't wait for us to give them our concept. So let's hope that many artists will join with us with their own concepts and works and everything. Okay, stop. I'm going to take a glass of water because I'm really. Please go ahead.
I see there are questions that are listed, and ladies, I guess you guys will address it, but I'm just highlighting it. There's some questions here I see as well. I'm happy to answer any questions on the Space Renaissance Academy. I see there's a question here. It says, any research programs exist with SRI Academy, please? That was a question that I see. But I don't want to take away from what your agenda is. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have for me while Andreas is getting a glass of water.
Sure, sir. So I would like to know your point of view on like the question which Anand asked, how students coming from background arts, like background of arts and business, because you are from business. So I would like to know
Yes.
your point of view.
Yeah, and I'll compliment what Andrea said. Um, the quality of life is based. The quality of life is everything together. Is one organism. So there's not sections or compartments. Just engineering. That's not pragmatic. So what I'm saying is that it's all these aspects are needed as one body, as one organism. For example, I think we said this already, but the Earth. Some people will say, some scientists said that what we call space or the expanse is one big nervous system. And if you look at the expanse, if you look at space, it looks like the human mind, where everything's all connected in regards to the electrons and how things are connected. That there's a duplicity, that how the brain looks, and then how space looks, and there's a lot of similarity. So there's no such thing as compartments. There's no such thing as engineering over here and math over here. It's all together. It's all one organism. Compartments don't work. A healthy, sober uh, organization embraces all of its talents, and it highlights its strengths and areas that needs to be strengthened. I hope I answered your question.
Awesome. So there's one more question. How does the world look at India in the space sector?
Well, I don't mind taking this one, and Andrea, I pass it off to you. When I was in when I was in I don't know if you can see my shirt, but it's probably backwards, but Space Studies 2017, there was a huge presence of the Indian space. I can't remember the name of the acronym. My apologies. I don't remember the name of the acronym, but India was there, and massive color, massive numbers, and that was in 2017. So obviously this year, 2020, it was canceled. As Space Studies program was canceled because of COVID. I'm sorry, not canceled. It's distance learning. So they have the distance learning, but it's for what I see, it's I think it's one of the top 10, if not top 5. But that's just my observation. Did I address the question properly?
Yes, sir. I was just looking for other questions.
There was a question someone asked, how can I help with SRI? How can I be involved with SRI? I think I saw that one, and then there's another one about the academy. How can I? Are there any programs involved with the academy? And if I could just stress that, so I won't forget. The question is, are there any programs involved with the SR Academy? The answer is no. N-O. Not because I wanted to be that way, not because Andrea wanted to be that way, not because we wanted to be that way. There's been massive changes in the industry, which has put a lot of things on, squashed a lot of things. And what I want to do is start some things, such as initially start with additive manufacturing, 3D printing, which I'm happy to discuss that. But right now, with the credit crunch, with a lot of uncertainty, I've been following the COVID-19 crisis. I've also been following geopolitical things that's going on in India and China, the U.S. So with COVID-19, with all these things that are popping off, it's all connected. Everything's connected. So yes, we would definitely like to be involved, have more projects going on. We had a project going on, but the company was bought out. So all the work, all the effort that Andrea and I and the rest of the team put together, and using this one organization so we can have internships and research stuff, went away overnight. Again, there is a credit liquidity. And so we can't think about it in a compartment. We have to think business. Businesses fund these research. So when there is a credit crisis, when there's liquidity, when there's lack of faith and trust in the system, that will affect research. And so again, this is volunteer. Andrea does volunteer. I'm doing volunteer. We're all volunteers on there. So we have day jobs. We need to eat. We need to pay our bills. So when you put all this time and effort into things and it goes away, you make yourself think like, man, so now my desire is, let me focus on additive manufacturing. Let me focus on that. That's what I do for a day job. Let me focus on it initially, because we need to get a win. We need a win. We need a win. We need to build relationships. So I want to discuss that before we go away, because I have a hard stop within 40 minutes. The barbecue's finished with, and my host, she's so sweet. They allowed me to stay, but they cleaned up and they all left. So I wanted to be a part of this. So I want to make sure I discuss what's going on with the Academy, because nothing is going on, because there is a credit crunch, and I want to get things started, but we're going to start slowly and surely, and build a strong foundation. So I'm starting with additive manufacturing, 3D printing. That's what I want to start with initially. I don't want any other projects, because it will be very discouraging. No, I take it back. I was very discouraged, guys, working on this one project for several months, and it went away. I know Andrea was. I was discouraged because the company didn't go bankrupt, but they were bought out. And we had so much writing on this. I spent so much time. But that's life, right? That's life, right? So just because we have nothing going on doesn't mean we're not trying. But I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to put all my energy in that, and then it goes away. You can't control everything, but I just want you to feel the pain that I felt. I want to just communicate that. It was very discouraging. But I'm still here. Andreas is still here. SRR is still here.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Michael.
I think I have to. We have to come a little bit to the Space Masters Academy to add a few words about what we are doing, because it is true that we are not developing projects inside the academy. So we have some ideas of projects, but we are not ready to start developing.
Exactly.
That's the
There's
point.
no way.
That's
There's
the
no
point.
way.
That's
Because we
the
have
point.
limited resources.
Yes.
Because time is a resource, and there's only a few of us. And what I don't want to do is have all these projects going, we don't get it finished. So I would like to discuss some things real quick, Andrea, if you don't mind, about the Space Renaissance Academy. And then, Andrea, please, I pass it off to you, please. But there are some things.
No, I perfectly understand. I perfectly understand. So the point is that we discussed recently what we can do right now, because we can't, we have things to do, however, and what we want to do by now, before we will be able to think about projects. But in order to be able to think about projects, we have to be funded, and this is where the Medici Fund comes in. but the Medici Space Renaissance Fund is another thing, another program that we will start maybe at the end of this year or beginning of next year. So far, we are focusing very much to attract two kinds of people to the Space Renaissance Academy, that are students and mentors. So we are running a mentorship program, and now I will give you the links to the key pages that propose this kind of thing. So it is basically very essentially a list of topics that can be used as themes for graduate works. So students can choose one of our themes, and if they choose a theme, we will suggest a mentor to them. So an expert of that field that can help them to develop their work, their PhD or their graduation work, or whatever they are trying to study in their programs of study. So this is what we are doing right now. We already have about 70 mentors that accepted our proposal, and we will soon start promoting this program on all of our social networks, on all our channels, on all of our newsletters and this kind of things, in order students can reach our mentorship program and begin to work with because what is our goal? Our goal is the same that I told before, to push the priority of the enabling space technology for civilian space development. Therefore, all of our themes are, and of course additive manufacturing is one of these themes, because we think about the in space production for zero-G products and other kind of things. And so all of our proposed themes are related to civilian space development. You will see, and I hope that many of you, if you are students, will be interested. And in this way, we can also build our relationship with universities. Because, of course, when some student chooses one of our themes, they will have to propose these themes for their graduate work to their university. So we will get in touch with professors, with teachers, with the presidents or directors or dean of those universities, and we will start to work with them. And this is how we will build the academy as a known environment where not all the space science is considered, not all the space philosophy is considered, but namely the enabling technologies and methodologies and philosophies to begin the civilian space development. This is our goal that we will pursue, and I hope that within this year we will have a number of students that we have chosen to graduate using one of our proposed themes. And I believe this will be a first very important step in order to launch the second step, that is the Medici Fund, to be financed, because of course to have, let's understand, having 1,000 members at the end of this year will be very important, because that will be a small budget of maybe maybe 20,000 euros that will allow us to make something, maybe to make a prize for students, for instance, maybe to make some bursaries to students. and also to travel, to go to meet some universities, to start developing our program worldwide. So the very first step is subscribe to the Space Renaissance, subscribe to the Space Renaissance, and help us developing the mentorship program. Then I think at the end of the meeting, we also will talk about the civilian space protocol. But okay, this is what I had to say about the academy so far. Of course, the Medici Fund also has a goal to start supporting startups and innovation and companies that make space innovation things. But this is not today. This will be maybe in 1 or 2 years that we will be able, if duly funded, we will be able to make this other step forward and upward. Michael. Okay, microphone.
If I can add, if I can compliment what you're saying, Andrea, just a little bit, and then I'll pass it off. And guys, I have a hard stop within the next 30 minutes. I'm sorry about that. A hard stop. The barbecue left a lot earlier, so I'm still chilling here. But
okay.
I just wanted to state this, that there is that there's current push globally to decentralize additive manufacturing for one part of the world. They're trying to decentralize having manufacturing done at one part of the planet, and they want to have localized supply chain. So right now the supply chain is primarily geared for China. Many of us know that. And so what a lot of these investors are doing, a lot of the companies are doing, a lot of governments are demanding, and people are asking, is how can we localize the supply chain so we're not so dependent upon one source? Again, that's profit or people. That's what drove that behavior. Put all your eggs in one basket. That's as an example. And so now there's a huge incentive for additive manufacturing, also known as 3D printing, which is something that can be used, as Andrea mentioned, that can be used up in space, to be brought locally in rural communities, also in communities that typically wouldn't do any manufacturing. So here's what I'm noticing. This is still new, but what I'm noticing is there's demand for additive manufacturing sector for companies. Companies are looking for this. The HR department and some companies are looking for candidates that are highly trained and have certification in the field of additive manufacturing. So there are 4 areas that I see right now. You have the company's HR department looking for this. You have higher education institutions that are providing this, but there isn't a standard. There's not a standardization globally about AM additive manufacturing. Training centers is another bit. The training centers will be responsible for certifying and training skilled individuals that have standards that are recognized throughout the planet. And then you have additive manufacturing headhunters or hiring for recruiters. So these are 4 areas. Once again, one area is the company's HR division. They're looking for qualified people. You have institutions, higher education institutions, that they do teach it, but there isn't a standard process for that. There's training centers that provide certification and skilled work, and also the headhunters or the recruiting agencies that are looking for and hiring additive manufacturing. The focus for the academy, one of the initial focuses, is to focus on the low-hanging fruit within the additive manufacturing sector. And so I believe this is necessary and needed. So right now, I would love for those that are interested in additive manufacturing. I'm just curious if there's any demand over in India. I know in Germany, where my office is, there's a huge demand for that, and the German government is putting resources and time behind this. So I'm just wondering, in India, if there is a recruiting agencies or training centers, because if not, there's something that we can do, something that I can do, working together with SR Academy and building partnerships. We can potentially I don't know, it's low-hanging fruit right now. We need something like this to help deal with this broken global supply chain. I hope that was clear.
Thank you so much, sir.
If there are people interested, they have my contact details. And I have a hard stop within 20 minutes. If I could say that so 20 minutes past the hour, or within 20 minutes, I need to stop, unfortunately. So if there's any question you have for me up front, please share that with me, and then I can go within 20 minutes. Again, my apologies for that.
No, sir, we just have one last question because as we are running late of time, we just have one last question. That is, what is civilian space protocol?
Yes. So it's again to me? Good. Well, the Civilian Space Protocol is an initiative that we started a couple of months ago, and nowadays there are 15 organizations that I'm giving the link on the chat window. So this is an initiative toward the almost 200 countries that are subscribed to the United Nations to adopt an agenda of for giving priorities to the enabling technologies for space, civilian space development. So it is simply a letter that we want to write to the almost 200 nations based in New York at the United Nations premises. So we want to have a printed letter, not only an electronic letter, to be sent to these guys, recommending to adopt the. Okay, I can also present. Just a moment. Maybe it is better to do it if I find. Okay, present now. A Chrome tab. Yes. Okay. Can you see it? Sachika, can you see my desktop?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now it is.
Okay, so I am going directly to the text of the letter. There is a preamble, and this is the protocol. So, okay, you can go there and read it yourself. However, some things, and all governments of planet Earth are strongly recommended to give priority to the following strands of research, all of which are essential to allow the transport, accommodation, and prolonged stay of people in space. Low-cost space transport systems for civilian goods and passengers, low acceleration spacecraft, both at launch and re-entry, safe and comfortable atmospheric re-entry mechanisms, protection from cosmic radiation, lunar habitats, orbital habitats endowed with artificial gravity by rotation, artificial green ecosystems in closed environments. So this is the basic thing that we are recommending to all countries of planet Earth. And okay, so this letter will be printed on paper and sent to almost 200 countries. We are still collecting organizations to join. So, of course, Space Renaissance India will be very, very welcome to join. And even other space organizations from India that you can reach in our neighbors, will be very much very welcome. And even the Indian Space Agency, ISRO, will be very welcome. So one question was how we see the Indian space programs, and what can I say? We are seeing very, very good, very good things, because the more countries are trying to reach space and to settle, the best is the situation, because none country will be allowed to sit down and wait for something, because it will be a race, you know. So it is wonderful if there is a race among US, among China, India, and maybe Europe, let's hope, and other countries, then we are sure that something will happen. If nobody is going there, then nothing will happen for sure. It will mean that we as a civilization, as a species, we are condemned, and we accepted our destiny to implode and to go extinct before the time. While if we go outside, we will be very young again. We will be starting. We will be a young solar system species. Now we are an old earthly species. If we go outside, we will be a young solar system species. This we have to take in mind when we do. Okay, I'm always going to philosophy. I know, it's my... Okay, so this is the civilian space protocol. It's very simple, and we need more associations and organizations and company to join and support us in this endeavor.
Thank you so much, sir. We'll be ending this session now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
I guess you encouraged so many people right now.
Thank you very much for inviting me and Michael, and to have this opportunity to explain our goals and to let's hope to make our support and our organization to globally grow up, because this is our main goal. So I have to repeat my call to subscribe. I will post again, but it is in the chat. It is in the chat. Also, in the chat, I have put 2 links to the mentorship program main pages. These are 2 questionnaires where people can check their preferred items and send us the form. Therefore, we will know. Yeah.
You can also share this link on the WhatsApp group. We'll send them personally.
Yes, sure. I will share everything. And also, yes, what we can do, we can make a selection of the whole chat and even post this.
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I gotta go.
It's okay. We were just ending.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Andre, I didn't mean to cut you off, Andre. I'll just go. Guys, thank you so much. I do need to go. My hosts, they're leaving, and I did. So thank you so much again. And if there's anyone interested in additive manufacturing, I would love to reach out and touch someone and speak with someone. Please, you have my contact details. We can talk offline. Okay. Again, my apologies for being so abrupt to leave, but I need to go. Sorry. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Michael.
sir. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Michael. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks, guys.
So, we can close now?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. That's all for today. Thank you for all for this lovely evening. It was really nice having you all. Please join us on Facebook and Instagram for more updates regarding webinar and other things. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Adriano.
Thank you, Bharti.
And thank you, Sachika.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Ad astra.
Thank you. Bye.